We're on the Wisconsin side, but all the way north. We pull in is around 10 o'clock. There's a woman inside a diner getting ready, and it opens at 11:30. And I knock on the window, and I said, is there a place around where we can get coffee? And they don't open till 11, and it's 10 o'clock. She says, come on in. I got a pop brewing right now. You can have it. Doesn't charge us for anything. Just that's what bike trips can do, man. You just see parts, you see people, you see things, you get a flavor for them. It's great. And there's nothing as exhilarating at the end of a day that you just knocked off 65 miles.
This is Andrew Vance, and you're listening to Choose the Hard Way, the podcast about how hard things build stronger humans who have more fun. This episode is part of the United States of Sweat special series. That's where we talk to political figures and policymakers about the sports and physical activities they love, because during a divided time, sweat is a unifying force. My co-host on this magic carpet ride is Jonathan Kaplan. Jonathan, welcome.
Andrew, thanks for having me. If you want to learn more about my work, I write the Riding With newsletter at writingwithkaplan.substack.com, where I write about the intersection of professional cycling and media, business, culture, and sometimes even politics. I'm also the founder and manager of WRITE CADENCE Strategies, where I help people, preferably from outside of Washington, find and use their voice inside Washington to achieve change in law and policy.
And even if you're a DC insider, Jonathan loves you too. And our guest today is Rahm Emanuel. Jonathan, tell us a bit about Rahm.
He probably needs no introduction, but everyone knows him as White House aide to President Clinton, congressman from Chicago, chief of staff to President Obama, mayor of Chicago, and ambassador to Japan. He's a political knife fighter, very idealistic, but he's ruthless enough to get the job done. I was psyched. It was a big get for us and a big name for us.
Knife fighter. I like that description. And before we dive into the episode today, if you're a senior leader in business, politics, sports, venture capital, private equity, or any discipline, you now have to be great at podcasts. That's where influence is built. And that's why we see people like prospective presidential candidates doing podcasts. That's why I launched One Real Voice. That's my podcast strategy and consulting firm that you can find at onerealvoice.com to help senior leaders be great podcast guests and hosts, and to help organizations take a strategic approach to podcasting, whether they're starting their own podcast, have an existing podcast, or want their leaders to show up in the right places and figure out how to do that. My coaching methodology combines what I've learned working with the world's top behavioral scientists and applied high performance experts, and the hundreds of reps with interviews I have as a journalist, subject matter expert, podcaster, a communications executive at the fit tech unicorn Strava, and as a venture-backed founder. When you're ready to be great, you can DM me at HardwayPod on Instagram or email me at hello@onerealvoice.com. This is a fantastic interview. I really enjoyed our conversation with Rahm and Jonathan. This is something pretty special.
It was. You know why it was special? He didn't curse.
Yeah. If you're a Rahm Emanuel fan, this is something unique, and you're going to get to hear stories I don't think that people have ever heard anywhere else. So this is what it's all about. That's why we created this experiment, the United States of Sweat. Jonathan and I are really excited to bring it to you today. So let's jump into the interview.
Today, President Trump said he was going to bring back the presidential fitness test.
Oh, I didn't see that. Did I miss that?
Yeah. It just happened. In all the blizzard of news of all the important things going on in the world today, he's focused on the fitness of our preteens.
Well, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm not against that. Especially when you look at the ability of teens today to qualify for the U.S. military and the limited amount because of physical condition. I'm not against that.
I don't think I could have done a pull-up until I was like 14 years old, if that.
Well, right now, all of us are just pushing against gravity.
All right. So you've had these big jobs. Which one has been the most stressful? And did fitness fit into it or not?
I would say I've always worked out. But if you thought of working out to help manage stress, you'd have to say mayor and chief of staff.
How did it fit in when you were chief of staff, and how did it fit in when you were mayor? Were they different?
No, I mean, I have my routine. Every year I adjust it, etc. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or in our house, as we like to say, Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, I'll adjust it. But since 1982, I swim 3 times a week a mile. Now I not only swim 3 times a week, but twice of those days I'll swim a mile and I'll do weights for an hour, where I didn't do that before. I do twice a week the bike and elliptical for an hour. Until recently, where I kind of stressed out some of the hip, I've been doing yoga for twice a week for 20 plus years. So,
Wow.
but I do it in the morning at 5 or 5:30. Now a little later because I don't have to be up at those hours to fit the rest in. But it helped me manage stress. But it also helped me. I don't know how you guys, but when I swim, I mean, I don't count my flips. I count my time. I get my half mile done in 31 minutes. So I'm usually trying to noodle on a problem we have, or trying to figure actually all you're doing is breathing, so you're listening to your breath. There's nothing else. It allows me to kind of clear my head on a singular, or focus my energy, mental energy on one particular problem, whether that was healthcare or whether that was something on education when I was mayor or whatever it was.
Do you enter the pool with a specific problem in mind, or does it just come into focus while you're swimming?
If I had to say there was a pattern, I'm reading on the way to the pool, a newspaper. Something may have, obviously stuff that I'm reading is of interest. And it clicked. By way of example, separately, and so I was getting ready recently for some, either a podcast or a TV show, I forgot which. And I was thinking about how to make a point, and it dawned on me to say that years from now, you have these 2 wars happening, the Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Israel-Gaza, but that Israel was given, it was actually right after the Iran stuff, that Israel was given the ability to win a war, and Ukraine has been given the ability not to lose a war. And that the strategic options when you win a war are, I wouldn't say vast, but open up wider. And when you're there in a situation where you're not to lose a war, you're down to which provinces you don't have to give up. So it's just a different way and that was an idea that came out of the pool as a way to try to explain something and kind of make an argument.
And when you get out of the pool with an idea like that, are you going to a notepad or your phone or you're just like, hey, it's on lock. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk to Jonathan and Andrew today.
Yeah. You've elevated this podcast to a status I didn't have 5 minutes ago. So thank you.
I love it. So Rahm, 1982, what happens that swimming a mile 3 times a week becomes the thing?
You have to rewind 5 years earlier. I had an accident. I was working at Arby's, meat cutting, and deep cut through the bone. And I end up with 5 blood infections, 2 bone infections, gangrene, 105 plus. Anyway, the first 72, 96 hours was truly touch and go. It took about 3 weeks. I was in the hospital for 7 weeks. 3 of those weeks were to stabilize before they could do surgery. Without getting into it, a nurse basically in the first 24 hours to save my life. And 3 of my roommates in the 7 weeks died. Doctors tell me they were going to try not to let me go to college because they wanted to keep me under observation. They weren't sure the infections weren't going to come back. Anyway, the basic point was after I stabilized and all that I did, they were going to take my hand off to stop the bone infections. And they said if I wasn't, and those were the days where I was dancing ballet and dance like 50 hours a week, And they said if you weren't in the physical condition you were in, you were dead. And I mean, that kind of wakes you up. It makes you sit up in the bed. And I come back, and I continue to dance lightly in college, but do other activities. Anyway, I come back, and I realize I'm not going to dance. Although I keep dancing twice a week after that. Swimming from an all-body workout is about as good as you can get. Unlike running or biking, and those are great activities, swimming is a full body, shoulders, arms, backs, abs, legs, glutes. There's just nothing like it. And no cartilage damage in knee or ankle. And so I start. And I was a swimmer. I didn't swim. I was not on a swim team or anything like that, but I swam. High school, I did one season water polo. But that's nice. Anyway, I decided I could move back to Chicago from college, and I picked up swimming. I decided I'm going to do swimming. That's going to be my thing to stay in shape. It becomes 3 days a week, a mile, and I haven't stopped since 1982. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
And you just swim it
then
straight.
I will say since 82, stuff gets as I said earlier, both joking and serious, I'm fighting gravity now. Weightlifting back then wasn't what it means at this point in my life. I've always, we've always tried. I love biking. I've done a number of triathlons. And when I was ambassador to Japan, I did 4 different bike trips around the country. I've done stuff in Italy. I've done stuff here in the States around the Great Lake Michigan and stuff. And I like biking and stuff, but stuff gets added and, whatever.
So in the pool, what's the go-to workout? You just swim a mile straight, or do you break it up? You do 400s?
No. I get in, swim
get out.
25 laps, then I do the last 7 all arms. 3 times a week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Tuesday and Thursdays are the weightliftings. Monday used to be the swim and yoga. I'm done with yoga until I fix this on my left hip. But I've been doing that. It could be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, as like when I was ambassador and stuff like that. But it's 3 days a week. And I will adjust. If I miss it during the week, I'll make sure it gets done in the weekend. I will get all 3 done. A lot of other people think, well, I've managed stress well, that maybe I need to see a therapist or something like that for my OCD behavioral patterns about workout.
So going back to ballet, you mentioned you were doing 50 hours of ballet a week prior to the accident. Ballet it's absolutely grueling, and it's physically and mentally grueling. It's artistically expressive, and you spend a lot of time taking instruction and working with other people. What did you learn about working with other people and being a leader from your ballet experience?
Well, one is now we're going really back. I do one season my freshman year in soccer. That was the year that Rosie Greer off-season took up ballet, Minnesota Vikings. And I wanted to improve my soccer game, and I said to my mother, what could? And she used to be a dancer. She said, you should do ballet. So I walk in. I decided I'm going to take it up. It took its own little courage to do. And then I realized I'm in a classroom with 24 women and me. And I'm never going to be on the starting team. I said I could sit on the bench with 12 guys in the cold, or I can be in a class with 24 women. You don't need AI technology for this decision. I can do this one. I got this down. So I started dancing, and anyway, was good at it. But I learned, there's a lot of things that people, it does also apply to politics, but you have to interpret music with your body to give expression. There's lighting, there's music, there's space on the stage, there's synchronization, there's lines that extend. I mean, there's a lot. Physics, geometry, and art. So there's both art and science in it. I don't mean to do this, so shut me down because I could talk about this for a while.
Please do.
Everybody talks about crawl, walk, run. There's a part of the Bible where God says, I've piped music unto thee, and thee have not danced. And it's not an accident that in every culture across the globe, dancing is the one spiritual thing a community does, and that also pays tribute to, quote unquote, a higher authority. So it has, you really don't want this from me, I think it's a unique art form of all the arts, but that's mine.
So can you connect it to politics?
Well,
I've never heard you do that.
Fast footwork helps. 2, you got to have discipline, helps. 3, you got to be willing to take criticism, helps. And there's things that you have to do in coordination with others, but also self-contained. And 4, it requires interpretation.
Andrew, I want to go back to swimming.
I want to keep talking about dance, Jonathan. Like, we can go back to swimming in a second. I think this is fascinating. I mean, Rahm, there's a lot of people make decisions in different styles, and data plays its role. I'm just curious, with dance requiring such a high degree of interoception and just connection to, like, what's your internal experience of what's happening in your body physically and emotionally? How do you think about the gut and your attunement to the gut as it relates to decision making, connecting to other people?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I can't think as well and be as quick on my. If I do think of myself as a quick study, etc. I am not as sharp if I don't work out, and it changes also my mood if I don't work out. Now, that has happened so infrequently that it's not, because I'm very, very, very conscious of this. And in fact, when I travel today, I'll make sure that if I have to wear out stay so I can have access to a pool. And not just a pool, weights, bikes, if I have to fit back in. But it will make an impact if bizarrely, you guys all know this because we all work out. Like, if I have my swim weight day and it's a swim and it's no weights, even though I just swam a mile, I'll feel like I'm missing something. It's not a full, so even though I had done that. So it affects your sharpness.
Andrew has a great line that everybody likes, and I've adopted it. Everyone likes me better after I've gone for a ride. Not just thinking more clearly, but I'm a better, more pleasant person, I think.
Yeah. It's also, you read all these articles today about running clubs. There's a group of us. I'll probably go on a buddy's bike trip this weekend, depending on hip, 20 to 30. And there's something to be said for that kind of group activity like that. Even though I'll do it also probably Saturday individually.
When did cycling come into the picture?
Well, I like cycling and stuff like that. Amy and I did a back roads trip to northern Tuscany. And we had a great time, and I really got into it. And then I did 4 bike trips in different parts of Japan. I've done 2 in Europe. My daughter and I, when she was 16, I took her. We did Amsterdam to Brussels, 5 days. Amy and I did Tuscany, as I said. Richard Mintz, a friend of mine in Washington, we did Pittsburgh to D.C. on the O&M Canal, and then we did Lake Michigan, which is just shy of 1,000 miles in 13 days. And then Amy and I did the coast of Oregon, from Washington State, the bridge, to California on the coast. So I think it's the best way to see the country. But I would say early 90s biking became both something I enjoy doing, but also I think it's a great way to see a country. I think it's the best way to see a country.
And when you went around Lake Michigan, are there bike paths on most of it, or is it just like?
I want to do a shout out. So we just did it, Richard and we both split and hired somebody to drive behind us and carry our stuff since we didn't want to do it. And we did bed and breakfasts along the route and stuff like that. But you know, Google Maps has a icon for biking. And this was like 984 miles. And I would say maybe 50 of that 984 was not on the back roads. They have an incredible, we didn't have a back roads company. We used Google Maps. There's an icon for biking, and it was spectacular. And we basically said, okay, we were going to do on average. Sometimes it was a little lower. Sometimes it would get a little higher because we wanted to get to X town. We pick a town somewhere in the 60 to 70 mile range for the day. Because for different things at the end of the day, we wanted to walk around the town we were staying at, and we didn't want to do it at night or whatever. We did the coast, and it was and I mean, I had this joke after the trip, which was that the worse the cell phone service is, the nicer people are. There's a correlation between spotty service and good and nice people. But it was a fabulous way to see. We started Montrose Beach in Chicago, rode up the Michigan side and around and the Wisconsin side and down. It's a great way to see America, great way to meet me. I'll give you one story. So we're north of Traverse City. We're not yet in the UP. So trying to mentally put that in your head. And we're in some tavern, having a hamburger place, bar, blah, blah. And I could see, places, I wouldn't say busy that it's standing, but it's got all the tables are occupied, people are there or whatever. I think there's a walleye or a pike fishing contest going on, whatever. And there's a guy wearing a NRA cap. And he keeps staring over. And I mean, I've done this long. I mean, he kind of knows who I am. He's like, but he's not in Chicago. Why is he here? He's got this kind of look. And we're just hamburgers. And all of a sudden, he starts making his way across the restaurant bar to our table. And my stomach is just like tightening up. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Because of everything I'd done on the assault weapon ban and the Brady bill. And he says, do you mind if I pull up a chair as he's pulling up his chair and sits down? And he goes, you're Rahm Emanuel. I said, yeah. And we have this lengthy debate, discussion, I would also say, characterize it, argument, I would also characterize it. I mean, it was all of it at once about gun control. And, you're in the upper part of Michigan, the Mitt, not the UP part, but close to it. I mean, he didn't convince me that gun control was wrong, and I didn't convince him on second thought. But he, I think, came away with an appreciation that the challenges I'd had as mayor are really different than the challenges, or not challenges, where he lives. And then I also came away, at least I can speak for myself, I don't know. I think that's what he said. But this is who they are, where they are, and how they live their lives. And the idea that there would be a limit on what type of gun they could get, I get that. But it was this really good 45 minutes. Nobody convinced anybody, but everybody heard each other. And that's something, and I'm not saying you need a bike trip for that, but that's something a bike trip, driving on a car, flying or taking it, and no disrespect to other forms of transportation. I think a bike trip can give you, and I'll give you something, an access in a way. Amy and I were in as I told you, northern Tuscany. We did this bike trip. We had packed our lunch. We are on a side road out of a winery area. We hopped a stone fence, took our lunches out, and there was a gazebo there. And we're sitting under the gazebo in this great vineyard, having our lunch, having just biked 30 miles. And you just can't beat that. You just can't. And the mountains are all over the place. The wine is all, you can smell the grapes and everything. and we're in a gazebo having lunch. It's hard to beat. And let alone we're lost. We have no freaking idea where the hell we are.
So speaking of just the bike trip, when you're riding with Richard, are you riding alone? There's no talking, right?
The only time Richard and I ride together is where he's telling me how many more miles there are. And then he goes ahead.
Okay.
But we would start off in the morning together and whatever. But we like riding like that. I don't need to ride with him. He doesn't need to ride with me. There are times during the day we'll ride together and we'll have, something we saw in the news during lunch we want to talk about. But
like me, you're a lone wolf. You're fine, like on your own.
He's a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. It's fine. I don't really. I'll give you another example though. I gave you the one on the. We're on the Wisconsin side, but all the way north. We pull in. It's around 10 o'clock. There's a woman inside a diner getting ready, and it opens at 11:30. And I knock on the window and I said, "Is there a place around where we can get coffee?" And they don't open till 11, and it's 10 o'clock. She says, "Come on in. I got a pop brewing right now. You can have it." Doesn't charge us for anything. That's what bike trips can do, man. You just see parts, you see people, you see things, you get a flavor for them. It's great. And there's nothing as exhilarating at the end of a day that you just knocked off 65 miles.
Andrew, you want to ask about gravel?
I mean, don't we all want to ask about gravel? Rahm, we've heard rumors that you're turning into a gravel cyclist. Is this correct?
I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I've done it. I liked it. We did it from the Pittsburgh to DC, but the idea that I'm turning into it, somebody's obviously using it to market something. So I no, I'm not turning into a gravel biker.
You're experimenting.
Yeah, well,
dabbling.
That would be fair. That's fine.
Okay.
But I've actually gotten into. I mean, we're talking about different things. I really like weightlifting now.
Okay.
I'm not doing it to bulk up or I'm not going for any competition. I think it's a really good. I have a routine from arms, shoulders, abs, glutes, legs. I like it.
What's the routine? Like, what are you hitting when you get in the gym?
Exactly what I said. I'll do a whole kind of chest, arms, shoulders on the front end. Go to the leg part, glutes and legs, and then finish off the last 15 minutes of the hour on abs and back.
So are you using dumbbells, barbells, just like whatever's available? It's
in a gym, yeah. I'm using the free weights, some machines, but a lot more free weights than anything else.
Smart, especially as we get older.
Yeah, as I said, we're pushing gravity backwards.
So I know we're coming up on our time, but have you scouted out pools in New Hampshire?
I have not. You will be, let me say this. When I do, you'll be the first to know.
All right. I've done it for you, so
okay.
When you need it, we can tell you.
Listen, okay, so let me flip this. Anybody here run? What do you find the best? I gave you why I love swimming, because every part of the body gets worked out. If you're not swimming, and I've told you biking and weightlifting, what do you guys like as your go-to best exercise? And then I have something else to say about swimming.
Jonathan, go ahead.
Well, it was swimming. And then I had some major heart surgery, but now it's on the bike. I cannot live without the bike, and to a lesser extent without lifting some weights. That's what survived.
Yeah. And I love cycling. I enjoy it. I feel free. I feel like I'm flying when I do it. I love the relational aspect of it when I do it with other people. And when I'm not doing that, just from a health and enjoyment point of view, I really enjoy hiking. Specifically, I like to carry water to the top of a mountain and dump it out. Because, well, then I don't get the load on my joints when I'm going down the mountain, and you get all the benefits of lugging heavy weight to the top of a mountain. And I happen to live in an area where I don't have cell service within several miles of my home. And I'm also surrounded by a number of mountains with beautiful coastal views here in mid-coast Maine. So I feel like there's nothing really as satisfying as a human as going to the top of a mountain. There's just something amazing about it. So I love doing that.
Well, thank God Amy didn't listen to you, because she's trying to convince me to always go hiking with her. We're saying, I should mention that if the ultimate is open water swimming.
Big shoulders.
I swim in the pool, but there's nothing like going for a 45-minute, for an hour open water swim. Nothing. That's kind of the penultimate, in my view.
The number one way to support Choose the Hard Way is to become a paid subscriber to my Substack, alwaysthehardway.substack.com. That's where I share my reflections on these interviews and write about engaged mindfulness, bikes, and life. For senior executives, professional athletes, political leaders, and venture partners, podcasts aren't optional anymore. They're mission critical. At One Real Voice, I coach leaders and organizations to help them thrive as storytellers and stand out in the long-form podcast conversations where real influence is built. If you have a podcast or you're starting one, I also provide strategic guidance to help you create a roadmap that works today and over time. Set yourself up to win from the beginning and keep on winning with every episode. When you're ready to be great, DM me at HardwayPod or send an email to hello@onerealvoice.com. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, please take a moment to hit subscribe and do humanity a favor when you hit 5 stars. Crypto curious? With over $1 trillion in transactions to date, blockchain.com is your trusted partner on your crypto journey. Go to blockchain.com to get started today. No experience required. Lauf is the Apple of bike design, and they make elegant products that just work better than everything else. That's why I ride Lauf bikes. You can check them out at laufcycles.com. This podcast is also brought to you by my best-in-class partners at Palm Tree Podco. They're a full-service podcast studio with end-to-end services to help any brand, business, or individual take a strategic approach and stand out. Find them at palmtreepodco.com. You can find all of those links in the show notes. And I'd love to hear from you. DM me at HardwayPod on Instagram and let me know what you think about this episode. Happy listening and keep on riding.